Hi, I'm Ricky, and this is my best friend, Becky.
Hi.
And this is our other best friend, Ashley.
Hello.
Today's a girls' day, and we're just going to catch up. Hashtag girls' day. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. I just want to let you know how nervous I am, and that also this is a 62-ounce cup from Temu that's filled with McDonald's Diet Coke. So
Not McDonald's Diet Coke. It's giving
crisp.
that guy with Kool-Aid. What's the guy that doesn't have a shirt on?
Bert Kreischer.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, MFG. What do you mean?
I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, he had a 64-ounce thing that had Kool-Aid in it, and he was on a podcast with like some other comedian, like Tom Segura or something. And they were like wheeze laughing at how he had Kool-Aid in his 64-ounce like Yeti or something.
Oh, so I guess I'm a little upstaged then. But I always get the looks when I go in and just put my cup under the Diet Coke thing. And I just rest it against the button and I just let it fill for like 35 seconds while
I don't know. I love that for you, actually.
situate my life. It's so crisp.
So just a quick introduction. Guys, Ashley and I have been friends since I was 10 years old.
Ew.
Is that yeah, ew. I'm young.
I was in 5th grade, I think, and you were in 4th grade.
Yeah, we just moved here.
I thought it was high school. I didn't realize it was that long.
No, bitch.
Yeah, so it's weird because I don't want to say we've been best friends since we're 10 because we weren't best friends. She was in a grade above me, so she was in my brother's grade, and we were in a band very briefly together with my brother, not Becky's face.
I remember one time in this band, he invited one of the kids from school, and like everybody was so mean to me in 5th grade. And so he played the guitar, and I think Josh was playing the drums. And then it was upstairs in your house, I remember. And I like went in the closet with the microphone and like, here's the cord like coming out of the closet. And I am in there singing like to the wall because I was so afraid of like the kid from school that was going to make fun of me. And then later on, when I ended up doing top 40 in high school, that kid was playing the guitar for the band while I was singing. So I was like,
So I do also remember that one of the songs, and I don't even know if this was a song that we sang with you in our band, but one of the songs was Take Me There by Maya and Blackstreet, was it? Or Jagged Edge?
No, it's Blackstreet. And that's on my playlist when I'm doing the dishes. Like it plays all the time. And Dan's like, is that the Rugrats?
Yeah, no, this is a song that came out on the soundtrack to the Rugrats movie. Take me there.
Much better time.
So Ashley's.
I do remember one of their songs though, that when they were in a band with Steph Morse. Is that her name? Steph Morse? Yes, it is her name. She always said to her
she dated Ben?
No.
Okay,
I don't know. But I remember her always saying in school that her sister had tickets to the second Titanic. And now that I'm older, I know that's a lie because that's still not a thing. And
oh my God, call her out. Is she on Facebook?
I don't know, actually. There's so many people from school that like I block so that they don't have.
I'll post it right now. Trying to sleep, but I just remembered that Sarah Morse said that she had tickets to the Titanic too.
She did. She would always be like, my sister just bought tickets to the Titanic. It's gonna set sail next year. And I was like, well, that sounds like a terrible idea. If it didn't work the first time, I mean.
Wait, because I'm thinking you meant like the movie. I was like, what the hell would they make a Titanic part
to like set sail on Titanic 2 was like tickets.
Girl.
And I was like, oh, well, that doesn't sound like a fun time. Like in the 90s, are you going to watch Dawson's Creek while the ship goes down? Like I'm not.
Not Dawson's Creek. Becky, were you ever in a band as a child?
No.
Oh, you were cool? Sorry.
Picture you totally like playing the trampoline.
What's
the trampoline.
What's it
called? The shaky one. It's the trampoline, isn't it?
No.
The tambourine.
Are we okay?
The tambourine.
Maybe it was just a Josh thing. Josh had a band with every single person he's ever blinked at.
That's true. That's true.
Like present day.
Like he's like, this could be the one where we hit it big.
Yeah, the blame.
I feel like DFTA did pretty good for a little bit.
But don't feed the animals.
Yeah.
And the people who didn't like that band, Becky called them DFT gay because that's how 2001 it was. Mike Fernandez was in that.
They just always reminded me of the band that you would see at like the prom at the end of like She's All That.
Or like the rich kids party.
Yeah.
Because like they were all the parents went away.
From like the Wrong Side of the Tracks band that comes and like plays the dance at the end. And you know, you have like that like spacey airhead kind of drummer guy that like, I don't
Yeah.
know, hooks up with the hot girl or whatever. That's what that always reminded me of. I don't know.
Yeah, it's giving The Summer I Turned Pretty, season 2.
It is.
So just in the vein of podcast things, and also something that you and Becky have in common, you guys have step parents. I was going to say you guys aren't step parents yourself, but Becky is a step parent herself. But you guys had step parents that adopted you.
That's
Is that
true.
interesting? Is that something you want to talk about or no?
I don't know that it's interesting per se, but on the topic of that, actually at work, we were talking about doing the 23andMe or whatever, like, is that thing? And I was like, well, I don't want to do it because like my biological dad I already have like 3 siblings, if you want to call them that.
Your siblings, or your half siblings.
I disagree a little bit. Like biologically, yes, but like they are constantly trying to reach out to me and like I'm not interested. Like, it's
what are you being so cold for, bitch?
I have no interest in that, like, at all.
Why?
I just don't. Like, my friend Lindsay is always like, oh, well, they're your siblings. You should get to know them. What for? I don't want to. So then I did some research. Okay, now hear me out. One of them, who would technically be my older sister, is a heroin dealer who lost her kids to the state of New Hampshire. Okay, so okay,
well,
we'll check her right out. No. So then the younger one is a sex offender. And then the one under that, he's only like 12 years old. So I just have no interest in
not 12 years old.
Any of that. My siblings are the siblings I grew up with. I'm not one of those people where I feel like if I was like Snooki, right? She was adopted when she was born. She doesn't know where her family. I don't care. Like,
well, so just to catch us up on what's happening on Jersey Shore, I'm a season behind because Paramount Plus didn't have it, but Snooki is gonna go seek out her siblings.
Yeah.
Because she has them. She's like, I don't like my parents, like whatever. Like, I'm not like mad that they didn't keep me, but like I have so many siblings and I would like to meet them. Like, she has a bunch. And so I'm on the episode before she talks about wanting to meet her siblings.
I feel like if I was adopted out from my family and like Caitlin and Tyler from Teen Mom,
right,
they gave one up and then they kept having more together. Like maybe then I would be like, well, what the hell? But yeah. I don't really care. Like, I just don't care. I don't feel like I really put that much effort in with my real family that I grew up with.
With your current brothers? I mean, if you got a couple questionable characters in there, I mean, that might be a thing. But maybe that 12-year-old needs a friend that's not a criminal.
I have a 16-year-old, and also the oldest one who is a heroin dealer. The youngest one, who is 12, they have the same mom. So like they're full-blooded siblings. So like my biological dad had her name's Kendra, and then with another woman, he had me. Then with another woman, he had a son, and then with the same woman as the first, he had another baby. So
and she's probably like, they always come back,
right? And she's like, he requested me on Facebook, and like, so she's on there too. And she comments on all his stuff all the time. And I was like, I don't understand the hype of like why people like would jump in bed with him. Like, I just don't. Because like if my man got someone else pregnant,
bye.
Later, you're automatically unattractive.
Literally
after that.
See you never.
I don't get it. But
Becky, do you have an opinion? What if your biological dad has other kids?
Well, I don't know if my biological dad has other kids. So
would you want to know, or like would you care?
See, this is fun. This is interesting. So I actually have a 23andMe that's probably, I don't know, the juice in it that you like stick your swab into is probably expired at this point. I've had it for about 3 years.
You never sent it?
Never sent it.
Bitch.
My biggest thing is a fear of like rejection.
It's like evaporated.
Like, what if it's like, oh, you have like siblings and a fan, like, you know, an aunt.
What if they live in Delaware?
And then like, you
what
know,
if it's Ashley?
They had no interest in meeting me. You know?
I wouldn't doubt if it was me, honestly. Like, I really wouldn't. My mom always used to say that Jess Morrell was my sister. Like, she was like, I swear she's your real sister, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm like, you know, I don't like that, but I love Jess Morrell, but I don't like the idea of being like, oh yeah, half these people in town are probably your siblings.
I mean, that's giving like soap opera.
Yeah, I'm also a little afraid to do 23andMe because I don't want to find out that like my husband is my second cousin or something. And
Girl, we
if you
grew up
think
in the
about it-
backwoods, but not that back.
I don't know. I mean, he's
She's like,
Star,
"Did we?"
I'm Tar, and then we're both related to the Carr, Carr. Like we're both related to that family from Pepperell.
Oh my
So
God.
I'm like, well, what if we are like first cousins or some shit and we just never met? And like our families all knew each other, like my Aunt Margaret.
Hold on, bitch. This is
Yeah.
giving like the Italians that came from Ellis Island and like they didn't know how to spell their name, or like the cops that were like signing them in didn't know how to spell or understand what they were saying. So the Stars, the Tars, and the Cars could very well be the same family.
They could. And I just don't. Whatever. I mean, we've gotten this far, but then I could use that as an excuse to like get divorced, I guess.
Oh,
well, you're
sorry,
my
he's
cousin.
my
So
just for the listener, we said it earlier, me and Ashley have been friends since we're 10 years old. We grew up in a town called Pepperell in Massachusetts. It was the stupidest town. I moved there when I was 9. I did not love it. It's a lot of white people. It's just below New Hampshire, so sometimes I identify with being from Nashua, New Hampshire. And so me and my brothers were a novelty because we were tan-skinned. And there was a man on the radio called Ramiro.
yeah, he's still on the radio.
Oh,
Ramiro the freaking Puerto Rican.
I remember the freaking Puerto Rican.
And so people would call me the freaking Puerto Rican in like 7th grade, and I hated it. And then
I
my
feel
brother,
so blind and like ignorant because I only remember people calling Josh Chico.
yes. So, well, you were in a different grade back then, but Josh's name was Chico. And I was always just like, do these people speak Spanish?
No, because they would always be like, "Oh, it's Spanish for boy," and I was like, "Oh, but we don't call anybody else Chico." There's a
Right.
lot of boys.
We don't call anyone boy.
Right.
And then so now I have another brother and he goes by Nacho, like his biker riding his bike club. They call him Nacho. And I'm just like, that's like a microaggression thing to give a brown man.
I was talking the other day about you actually, because I was like, well, I had, because you know the topic of Brandy and Cinderella came up, and like how I used to wear my hair in the little teeny tiny braids because I wanted to look like Brandy. And like,
hold on, real quick, listener, she's talking about Brandy, the Brandy playing Cinderella in the Cinderella movie where Whitney Houston played the fairy godmother. That's what she's referring to. But go.
Best adaptation of Cinderella ever.
Oh, that's the only Cinderella I
had nobody, like, because it was such a white town. There was nobody to be like, hey, that's a black girl. Like, that's black girl hair. Like, because for me, it was like, oh, she's so gorgeous. I want to look just like her. There was never like
give me box braids, please.
Right. There was never a thought, or like when I was 16 and I dyed my hair black and I cut my bangs to look like Selena. Like, I was like always obsessed with Selena. And nobody ever was like, bitch, you are fucking like the whitest bitch in this town. Like, just nobody. And I grew up with a mom who, sorry, mom, like is very racist and like prejudiced. So it's weird for me to look back now and like
from that town.
Yes. Well, no, she came from Chelsea, actually. She lived in Chelsea until
my dad came from Chelsea.
Weird. She came from Chelsea until she was 11, and then they moved to Pepperell, and she said that she was bullied by a black girl every day on her way home from school. This girl would chase her home.
Childhood trauma that makes her racist?
I guess, but now she's 64, so get over it. But I grew up in that environment, and like I was obsessed with like Tupac and Selena and like Brandy and all these people that I was like, So back to 23andMe, if there's even an inkling of culture in there, I'm gonna grasp it. Like that video of Demi Lovato where she's like, I'm 1% African. Like that, I'm gonna be running around like, part of me is Latina. I have no culture, I feel. But I am telling you, like, I would grasp onto it. Like even in high school when it was you, me, and Nicole, and I was like, oh, I have these 2 Puerto Rican friends because part of me has to be something other than white. I don't want to be white. Like, what is great about being white? I'm going to tell you from my perspective, not a thing.
So Becky, the listener hasn't seen you in a while. What's happening with you, Betch?
I would like to say that I've been listening to all the episodes and I think that you are such a great host. And I think you're doing a really good job at pulling energy from people and like creating the banter, like loving that for you. I guess like listeners, it just turns out that like I don't enjoy being recorded. It was something that Erica and I were really excited to do. I guess maybe look in hindsight, her more than me. I mean, I'm not from like a bad perspective, but kind of like nudged me along the whole way. But I thought it was going to be something I really loved to do, but it turns out that it just is not. But I'm like loving listening, and it's fun to pop in from time to time.
Yeah, I love that.
I was waiting for so long. I'm like, what are they going to ask me to be a guest? Like, what the frick? I had to text Erica and be like, hey,
listen, if you listen to the show, you know that I am an imposter. And so nobody wants to be on my show, and I'm a loser, and I smell.
All right, I'll give you that.
Yeah. So me and Ashley in high school we would sit next to each other on the bus, and there was this boy named Jason who was in Dunstable, and I said to him when he got off the bus one day, "You smell." And so
and he did, and his hair was always greasy. And
Greasy's PCs, this hair.
Not a nice boy, so I don't feel bad about it. But then it turned into like a thing.
That's what we said. That was
the thing.
Like the word. Like that's what you said.
We would like greet each other, like, "All right, have a great day. You smell." Like it was the best time, and
it was a compliment and a salutation. All
a salutation
and an insult to the right people. Like
yeah.
So it was what it needed to be, but it just turned into this thing that was bigger than us. And also, like love you bye. That was a thing I feel like that was started in our high school.
Yeah.
Like between people and like now, and then it was like on Laguna Beach and shit. And I was like, the fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
and Kay, thanks, bye.
Travel from here.
Yeah.
All the way to MTV. Like
I'm pretty sure I invented so many catchphrases that are popular like in the whole world.
I agree. I feel like so many things that sometimes I see and I'm like, pardon?
When people say mad anything, I said that first.
Mad? I never have used that.
That's mad stupid. I literally invented that. What do you mean?
Yeah, that's mad far.
Mad far that is.
Well, it's annoying every time I hear certain things, or like when Laguna Beach first came out and I was like, why are they there instead of here? I feel like we have better personalities than they do, but like they have all the same.
More aggressive.
We just didn't have this true.
And we didn't have like cars.
Yesterday or the other day, me and Bentley had to drive to Boston, and I was like, beeping at this guy. Like this guy had cut me off, so I beeped at him. So then he slowed down to like 40 in the fast lane. So then like trying to brake check me, and I was like, I have a new car. Okay, so we're not playing that game. So I went around him, and he just kept like fucking around with me. And Bentley was like, how come everybody in Massachusetts drives so bad? And I was like, it's not everybody, it's that guy. I drive great.
They're called massholes for a reason.
Yeah, I said that to him too. He was like, I think people in New Hampshire drive bad also. And I was like, you don't drive.
I don't know how people in New Hampshire drive because I forget, but I know that Becky drives like a maniac.
I swear. They just call us massholes because it fits, but New Hampshire's worse.
What is it called? Leadfoot? That's how you drive.
Oh.
You drive so fast. You and my boss are the fastest drivers. And I'm like, is there a fire? Are we late?
It's because I'm telling you, it's because of Bob's. Like
What do you drive?
I drive a Subaru Forester.
That's not what I pictured you driving. I thought you were going to say that you drive like a friggin' like Mercedes SUV or some shit. Like I did not expect you to say that you drive a Subaru.
No, when I first met Becky, she had an FJ Cruiser, and it was the most Becky car ever.
Yeah, I have a Highlander, and I graduated nursing school. This was the only thing I wanted for myself was a brand new car that didn't have a tape deck, that I could connect to Bluetooth like that. It didn't have a tape deck or like a CD player. But then I bought this car. My payment is astronomical because I've never bought a car before, and I didn't have parents that taught me about money. So
it's me. I'm your parents.
Well, that's very true. I'm grateful for that chat. But then like I traded my old Highlander, and it was a 2006. It had 224,000 miles. It was a dream. But
wow.
And then I was like, I called them and I was like, hey, I left my CD in the CD player in my car. Like, can I have it back? And then the guy who sold me it, like, he was like, when are you ever going to listen to this? Like, what do you have to listen to this on? And I was like, Harvin, give me my CD back. Like, you're not keeping my CD. And now,
like, did you have like an aux cord at least?
No, everything's Bluetooth. See, here it is. It's in my car still. It's Crystal. Remember? I'm Supergirl. Do you remember that song from Princess Diaries?
Do.
Yeah. This was such a good album when it came out. Like, she was signed to the Backstreet Boys label or whatever. And then I was like, can I just have my CD back? And he was like, who the hell is this? And I was like,
shut up, that's who.
Right? Just give it. So now it just sits in my car because I really don't have anywhere to play it. And it's not on like iTunes or anything. So I just hang on to it for nostalgic reasons.
My brand new Subaru Forester Wilderness Edition has a CD player in it.
Are you a hiker?
No, but like it's really you should see the little
what makes it a Wilderness Edition?
It's like their highest level of trim package.
Oh. I wanted so bad to do that. Like, I was like, oh no, I want the Highlander Platinum. Like, I'm gonna go all out for my very first ever car buy. No, I have the base model. That's
where
and that's fine and dandy for me. Like, I just wanted a screen and like a new car with buttons, you know.
Becky, what were you saying?
Steering wheel.
Listen, I will say that, like you said it first. You said this is the one thing I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I get it. Maybe it's like higher than you want to spend, but like it's what you wanted to do. You know what I mean? And like I just want to say,
school, that's what I thought of.
Well, and I just want to say, like, I've known you now for like 4 or 5 years, and just watching you like go through like school and like all the things you did to put yourself through that, like I'm so proud of you. And you know, like seriously, like I was rooting for you, and
we were all rooting for you.
I so appreciate you saying that. Like, that's
such a
sometimes
nice thing,
I feel like it goes overlooked, but it is nice to like that my kids can be like, oh, my mom's a nurse, or you know, that hopefully within the next few months, once I get everything squared away, because I'm still behind from being in nursing school. Like, being in nursing school sucked the life out of me and my finances, and Dan's not working, so I make a really good amount of money, and when everything's paid off and I can enjoy it, it will be nice. But it is nice to feel like I'm working hard and like seeing the benefits of that, like reaping the benefits of that.
No, you're a successful person.
Nobody's ever said that to me.
Yeah, no, Matt said something the other day, or maybe it was this morning, and because you know I suck at everything and I'm the worst and I'm trash, and so I think that stuff all the time. And he was like, you're like a successful person, like you've done a lot of successful things. Elaine mentioned it on her episode, and I still don't really believe it because I'm still just like a child stuck in a woman's body.
That's exactly how I feel. Mm-hmm.
Literally. But like, I have known you since I'm 10 years old, bitch. And like, you've done it. Like, you made it. You did. Like, I know it seems weird because it's like, no, because I still don't know what I'm doing. You're doing it.
I mean, I don't even know how to respond to that. I'm so weird. I just feel like I am an imposter still. Like, I'm like, ooh,
welcome to my life.
All gonna crumble down around me, and people are gonna be like, who the fuck let her graduate nursing
school? Are we
school?
done playing this game of Ashley's an adult? Because we were just kidding. This went on for mad long.
I hate it. But I'm glad that like my kids, because I have so many cycles to break. Like, I want all these cycles that I grew up with to end here, and for my kids to have like a totally different experience that I did. And I want them to see like, wow, my mom's working her ass off, and like that pays. Like, if you work and work and work, like, then it pays off. So because, you know, my parents worked, sure, but they didn't have any insight of how to handle their money or whatever. So we didn't have things to show for them working, like a home, for instance. Like, we were constantly moving around. We always had different cars, like different rundown, beat down cars. And that's not to say like we didn't have things we needed, whatever, but I just want more for my kids in my life. Like, and also in the sense that like, I've never been on an airplane in my whole entire life.
Right.
And that is my goal for the next year, is to like get my passport, get the kids on an airplane, like just these little things that to me, like to everybody else are like, wow, you've never been on an airplane. And I'm like, wow, to me, that's like a huge
Yeah.
Like, because we've never done that. Like, and I just feel like even my, you know how like when you're a kid and you're like, oh my God, they have a refrigerator in their garage. They must be rich. Like,
Okay.
and that's how I feel like the kids think. Like, because now they watch these YouTube videos of like unboxing and these families who like have YouTube money, so they're always going on trips and like recording.
And even like aesthetic houses, and it's like, no, my house is very normal. But actually, I do want to talk about your kids. And so this is the part where we let Becky, we cut her loose. Because talking about kids is not her department. But Becky, thank you for joining us for a little girl time.
Yeah, I'm so glad to catch up with you back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, ladies, so much. And thank you, listeners, for liking and sharing and keeping support. Love her and we love Ashley. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye, Beck. One thing I've always wanted to ask you, Ash, is have you looked into whether or not you're a hypochondriac?
100%. I am a hypochondriac. I actually talked to my doctor. That comes from my mom. I blame my mom for that.
Inherited something from your mom, lucky.
100%. And I take medicine for OCD. So I think that also kind of plays into that. But everything I have or anything that ever happens to me, I'm like, oh my God, I have brain cancer. And I think that started like when TJ died.
Oh, okay.
When TJ died, I never knew anxiety or maybe I did and it was like suppressed. Like, I don't know, maybe that kind of triggered it. But when he passed away, then I was pregnant with Jaden, like right away. I got pregnant with Jaden and he was born and like it spiraled out of control. Like I wouldn't even let Dan be alone with him for 5 minutes while I showered. Like I was like, no, he's not leaving my sight. He's like, I don't want him to die.
I remember this, but also, do you watch Vanderpump?
No, never seen it.
Okay, so current season, there's a girl named Sheena who I personally hate. She's a gimme girl, a pick-me girl. She's like makes everything about her the worst. But she's going through something right now where she doesn't let anybody besides her husband, or her mom watch her baby. Because she's like, no, something's going to happen. Lo and behold, while she was the one watching her kid, the kid broke her arm.
Oh, a little girl. No.
Summer Moon broke her arm. And so that's something that she's going through. So a little bit relatable, but like that's the thing, postpartum. It's like, hello.
I definitely think that I had postpartum for sure with Jaden and nobody really, I don't feel like it was like a thing then.
No, it was mental health. It didn't exist before 5 years ago.
Right. And I was like I couldn't hold a job. Like I was so terrified to have something happen to him after my brother died. Then we like moved to Lowell and things got a little bit better. But yeah, I just think that that's kind of where it started, is where like every single thing that ever happened, I was like, oh my God, this is going to lead to this, which is going to lead to this. And then I'm going to die and I'm going to leave my kids behind with no mom.
That's what's Becky call it? That's catastrophizing. Stop.
Yeah, my therapist says it's like my cloud of impending doom that is always there. That I'm always
for permanently friggin' next to you.
Yeah. And I'm constantly always thinking of the worst thing, even if I'm like, all right, let's change our thinking today. Like today we're going to be like, it's going to be a great day. We're going to like put that out in the universe. And then as the day goes on, I'm like, oh my God, but then what if?
Oh my God, that sounds exhausting, Ash.
That's something that's really hard to get a grip on.
Yeah.
Also, because it's very easy for my therapist to be like, why don't you step back and like think first or breathe or whatever? Like, okay, sure, that sounds fine and mighty, but like, I don't know how to
not think about it.
Right. Like same thing with like forgive and forget, right? My therapist is like, well, your parents are learning too. You have to forgive and forget. And I'm like, okay, well, sure, but like, how do you forget? Because like something will happen during the day, something minuscule that will like bring me to a memory of my mom from when I was like 12 or something, like just things that, and then I get mad. Then I'm like, oh, why was she like this? And
well, that's like, just, you're still not over it, because I don't think that you have I mean, I don't know if your mom's going to listen to this or not, but I just feel like you don't have the closure, because when you bring up things that shows the why you are the way you are, the trauma things, the things that she did, she doesn't acknowledge them enough to reconcile it. And so if she said, wow, I'm sorry that I did that, I recognize that that's wrong, I'm sorry that I hurt you, then there would be closure. But you don't have that.
Like, it's, oh, I'm sorry, I was such a terrible mother.
Yeah, I did the best with what I could. And it's like, you can also acknowledge the words that I'm saying by repeating them.
Right. Or there are things that like Frankie and Nathan and I will be like, oh, remember when mom did this or whatever? And she'll be like, oh my God, all you guys do is make up lies. That never happened. So like,
Yeah. So she
like,
has
we
her
all
own.
have the same memory.
All three of us made up the
It's a
same
lie.
exact lie.
So I'm constantly doing things for my kids where I'm like, oh my God, I want to be the best mom, where they're not looking back and being like, remember when you did this or this? But like, the longer I've been a mom, the longer I realize every kid is going to have that, I feel.
I was
Things
just
that I
gonna
don't
say,
even
like,
try to do. Like, they're going to be like,
yes.
remember when you used to do this or this? And I can't prevent it. But
Yeah, no, there's always going to be a trauma. And while some traumas, like people who like go through abuse and people who go through other words for abuse, you know what I mean? Like
Yes, I
those
do.
people, yes, they have that trauma. And like
Mhm.
you have the trauma of like your parents being how they were. I have trauma from my parents being how they were. And all of those things in our lives might be like, that's the worst my life has been. You know, it's how the people say, like, choose your hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like for me, yes, what I went through sucked and what you went through sucked. And so what your kids go through is going to suck for them, but it might not suck as bad as it did for you and as bad for your mom even growing up.
That's how I feel. I'm always like, well, their suck is going to be a lot less because it's
Yeah.
not going to be like parental trauma or like that they had to go without or that we were constantly moving or whatever. Like, I feel like they have a stable environment. They have like a stable income. They have even just the support from their parents to like be like,
Talk.
hey, yeah, like to just if they're like Jaden struggling with school. And so I texted him and because, you know, sometimes they don't want to talk face to face because it's really hard when you're like upset or whatever. So he was texting me for a little bit and then we figured it out from there. And then I get a little sad. Like, I'm like, oh, I wish that I'm trying to be who
the mom that you wanted.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to give my kids. So even for Jaden, like he'll be like, oh, hey, I'm going to go out. And I'll be like, do you need condoms? Just tell me because I'm not.
That's weird because I remember when he was wearing diapers. And so for you to say that, you're traumatizing me actually.
He's about to be 16. And every time he leaves the house, he's like, no, I don't need condoms. No, mom, I don't smoke or drink. And like, not in the way that my mom would be like, oh my God, you're going to get pregnant. You're going to blah, blah, blah. Even though I was like the best teenager, like I didn't drink or do any of those things, but I'm always like, hey, you can tell me, like, I would much rather you come to me and tell me that you need something to prevent it rather than coming to me and telling me like, hey,
grandma,
whoops, like, and I totally would be supportive and like I'm gonna be that mom, but like I don't want. I'm 36, so I'm not interested. And or like the other day I texted him just to be funny, and I was like, hey, are you smoking dope? And he was like,
not dope. What are you, Canadian?
Dan's grandmother texts him, or she'll text me all the time, be like, is Danny smoking the dope? So I was like, are you smoking dope? And he was like, what? And I was like, weed, do you smoke weed? And he was like, oh my God, you know I don't, but why would you text me that? And I was like, just for fun, for like a TikTok trend.
I'm silly. I'm a cool mom.
I'm not like the other moms, Jaden.
Okay,
but
he should know.
He also is like embarrassed of me too, I think, because he has this one friend who's like, I don't like him. And Jaden's very much like me in the sense that like he's not going to do something if he doesn't want to do it, and he doesn't care how that makes him look. So like he's not going to go to a party and drink because everyone else is drinking. But this friend, like, he reminds me of like Matt Winnegar.
Ugh.
But he's not. He's a nice boy. I've come to know him, whatever. But like that's my first impression of him. And they were at the pond, and I went to the pond.
Hold on. For the listener, Matt Winnegar is a boy in our high school who he had too much swag, but it was super fake. But it was enough to get, you know, a teenage girl like interested.
Yeah.
So like he seems Mr. Joe Cool, but really he was just a piece of shit who didn't have fucking parents.
And it's also because he came from Lowell to Pepperell, and like he had like the teardrop or whatever. So everybody was like, oh my God, this bad boy from like the city. Like that's how everybody saw him.
Yeah. It was like Eminem dope. Yeah.
But anyway, so Jaden was at the pond, and we had gotten there later, and he was with his friends, and they were just getting kicked out of the water because his friends were like swearing and cussing, and there's all little kids there, and all his friends were standing there, and I was like, Jaden, how many times do I have to tell you that you are who you associate with? So like, if these kids are getting in trouble, you need to separate yourself. And he was so embarrassed, and his friends were looking at me like, and then I heard one of his friends go, what, are you afraid of your mom? And he was like, yeah. And then one of the other kids was like, I'm afraid of her too. And I was like,
score.
Well, I'm like, well, Jaden's much better behaved than you. So, ew, I don't like that for me. But He's a good
I
kid.
mean, I would have straight told them, I don't like assholes, and you're kind of an asshole, child. I am thick. I say that, but I don't have kids, so I don't know.
No, and it's
Actually,
not like
no.
I try
No,
to
because
give
with
Jaden.
Stacy, with my nieces, I have a niece from Matt's side. I have a niece named Stacy who's 14. She's actually coming here for spring break this week. She has friends who are assholes, and they're like super. They were in 8th grade. 8th grade talking like this, talking mad dirty that I'm gonna do this, that, and put this here. And I said, first of all, half of those things don't make sense, and the other half is
You can't
spelled
put
wrong.
that there.
Right? And I was like, so that don't even, I was like, Stacey, your friends are just like saying words that they've heard before. Like they're not flirting. Cause she's like, we're in this group chat and they just like flirt with each other. And I was like, they're just saying weird words.
Now, listen,
Weird
I
sex
remember
words.
in 7th grade, Sarah Preventure's locker was next to mine. And I remember her saying to Rob Wilson, like, she was like, oh, you're just mad because I won't give you head. And I was like, I remember being like, what does that mean? Like, the fuck is that? Like, and then I felt so out of the loop because I was like, what does that even mean? And then we didn't have the like internet at that time. So it's not like I was going on Google being like, what is head? Like,
yeah.
So I'm just like,
we didn't even have Google. We had Ask Jeeves.
Right. And I felt like the dump. So I was like, okay. And then, but now I dropped Jaden off at school this morning. And if this girl, I mean, her shirt was like, and I said to Jaden, girls aren't allowed to dress like that in school. And he was like, I don't know. I don't look at her. And I was like, well, now I know you do. Also, like his little friends are always popping up on my TikTok and they wear sweaters like this, like they're all zipped up. And then they go in the bathroom and they unzip it and they have little tiny little like bralettes on and they're doing TikToks in the bathroom. And I'm like, we couldn't even show shoulder. These kids are learning things younger. They're more provocative younger.
Maybe provocative younger, but like, let's be for real. I mean, I don't know, because you were a grade above me, but let's be for real, for real. There was a clique that was wearing from American Eagle. I remember because her mom had to fix it. Halter tops became cool in 6th, 7th grade, and they were wearing the halter tops, and then they got in trouble for wearing the halter tops because you're basically half your back is out. And one of the girls' mom would put the straps that because they tied it on the neck. She would put the straps to make it like it was like a racer back. Tank top. So like I feel like yes, there are kids being provocative and we are shocked by it, but I remember 6th, 7th grade there was a girl named Nico that used to make out with Tom Carey, and she would be like, this is a movie kiss, and then they would like make out, and then she'd be like, and this is a tongue kiss. And I was like, how do you know this? Like, I remember Nikki Small and Rich DeBeaucourt making out, and fucking Dan Powers, and
he was so beautiful back then though. Oh my god.
I think I saw one of his brothers on Facebook, and I was like, all right, it's him.
No, Dan Powers is on Facebook. He's married to Nikki Small, and
good for them.
He looks like what the adults looked like when we were kids that are our age now. Because you know how when we were kids and we saw adults, like they looked like adults. Like my like mom at 36 was like a mom at 36. I feel like me, a mom at 36, like
I look 21.
I don't present as a 36.
No, I present 25.
Yes, and mentally I feel 25. Like I'm not like, oh my god, I'm a 30. Like Jaden's gonna be 16. 16 for me was 5 years ago.
I'm like so glad I've met somebody else who's in this millennial denial like I am.
I like live there. It's hard for me to accept that it was so long ago and like everybody else has moved on from it. When it was such a like the best time of my life. And I feel like Britney Spears at that time and like Christina Aguilera, like they all kind of played into what the girls wore back then. But I don't feel like, well, that's not true because in 7th grade, Sarah Preventure was like talking about giving head. But I feel like she had just learned about it and thought it was funny. So like, but I remember like when I started dating in high school, like and started being like sexually active, he would say things all the time and I would be like, cool. I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Like, I don't know what that means. Like,
you're using street words for what we're doing, and I'm not familiar.
Didn't know, like, had no, I was like the most oblivious. Like, why does everybody know about this and I don't? Like, I don't get it. And then once I did learn about it or like started doing it or whatever, I was like, this isn't like,
I don't like this.
I remember the like the weirdest, most smallest, most like
insignificant
things.
It's me, bitch. I think of the most random shit and I usually fucking like tweet it out when I like can't sleep. But like I like just like little phrases that I say and like that like from every like movie I've watched like as a kid, and it's like nobody knows what I'm saying.
My brothers and I do that. Or like, oh my God, speaking of us being old, right? So I graduated with this girl she's 23 now, but she works with me. Okay. And so she was texting me one day and I texted her back and I said, "Party on, Wayne." And she was like, "Oh, I don't know what that means." And I was like, "Party on, Wayne. Like, what do you mean?" So then I like sent her a gif of like Wayne's World and she was like, "Oh, I don't know what that is." And I was like,
that makes my heart hurt.
I was like, "How? You were born in 2001. You don't know what Wayne's World is?" Like, am
I not.
Or like how often I still quote Goldmember and people don't know
people don't know
about. And I'm like, these are like core memories of mine. How do you not know these
heavyweights
movies, best movie? Don't pee in the water. Like I say it.
My mom, every time she like loses like some weight, or my dad, I'm feeling skinny, Tony.
Or the guy, the camp counselor, when they were doing the Saturday night dance at the dance and the guy was dancing with Nurse Julie. And oh my God, it was just the best movie. But growing up, I was like, nobody else has seen this movie. Like nobody knows this movie. And then I met your family and I was like,
wait, so people do know this movie?
People do know this movie. And now they call it like a cult classic. And I'm like, in what way? I feel like this was a very popular.
It was Ben Stiller. Like Ben Stiller's famous.
Right.
So creating life experiences for your kids. So that's something I'm passionate about, because having stuff is whatever, but that's also like how you create fucking monsters and like spendaholic kids of wanting stuff and whatever, but creating an experience. There are so many things, like just having sushi that's not from the supermarket, going to hibachi, going to a Mexican restaurant and learning about all of the different levels of heat. Like obviously I think of food related things because I'm fucking starving. But like there's also but also like going to different museums and just like seeing stuff. I remember the first time I saw a reference to Van Gogh and Starry Night, and I was obsessed with Starry Night. Like to this day, I was at Kohl's today returning a package, and I saw a t-shirt or a crop top that the kids wear that had Starry Night on it, and I was like,
I definitely feel like Starry Night is like a thing now. It's like an aesthetic that people love now. Where
is it? I was wondering why it was on the shirt.
I feel like I see it all the time, like in shirts or like in home decorations or like whatever. There's always things that have that on there now.
I love that for Van Gogh, but also that was my first credit card I ever got was a Capital One card, because this is America, and I was 18 years old, and you could pick a design on it, and I picked Starry Night. But I've always loved it. But I also remember the first time that I saw it. And I think like if I didn't see it with that one person who knew art stuff, I would never know what this is.
Yeah. I did because of Boy Meets World. It was on Boy Meets World when Topanga and Corey like got back together. But that's it. Otherwise, like I'm not really super artsy. Either, but I think it's like the memory of like, oh, I learned about this with this person or at this time, or that makes that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Or even just seeing or being at different states. You know what I mean? Like life looks different. Like where you guys live in the suburbs, like it looks different in Leominster. It looks different in Worcester. It looks different in Lowell. It looks different in Nashua. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I remember also when I worked at the supermarket, I worked at Market Basket.
Yes, I remember.
I was my identity. You're kidding. I remember like just ringing up produce and having to learn what different produce was. There was a lot of Indian people that would come by, and like I would be like, I don't know what this is. And then there was a time where I was like the only person who knew what this one thing, it was called Edo, and it was like a root vegetable, and nobody knew the number for it or what it was called. And they would literally like page me when I was out in the aisles putting shit back. Oh, what's the number for this? Obviously, we've come a long way because we didn't have the little pictures that tell you what everything is. It wasn't it was just an Excel spreadsheet piece of paper. It wasn't friggin' photos. But I feel like you have to like put yourself out there to have life experiences. I wouldn't know so much about produce probably if I didn't work as a cashier at Market Basket.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think one of the things you want to create for your kids for an experience?
So I definitely want to like travel. Like I've never traveled, which I feel like is part of my cultural ignorance. Like, so
Mhm.
I learned a lot in nursing school. Actually, we had a lot of different cultures there,
Mhm.
and we had like a culture day, and I was like, I don't know what you want me to bring to this. Like,
Hamburger and hot dog, baby.
I'm like, I'll bring Chick-fil-A. I genuinely don't have like a
Mhm.
culture, I feel. But like,
Mhm.
I'm so open to learning. So like, I ask a lot of questions to those people, and I
Mhm.
will tell them like we had a lot of people from Kenya, Colombia, like we had all kinds of different places. And so I would always be like, I don't want to sound ignorant, but I want you to know that like I don't know. Like I
Right.
remember, so one of the guys, Ronald, like he was from like a village in Africa.
Mhm.
And at some part in Africa, and I said, I don't want to sound ignorant, like I really don't, but I just want to know, like, if you're in Africa, like, is it like what you see on TV where like there's like lions and shit running around? Because like I just feel like that's dangerous. And he was like, yeah, for sure, like in some villages, but not in mine. So I'm like, okay,
Right.
but I just want you to know, like, I'm just curious. Like, I don't know how it goes in other
Mhm.
places. So like
Yeah.
I'm very ignorant to where I grew up, and that's it. So I definitely want to like travel for sure, because
Mhm.
the kids really only know here.
Yeah.
Like,
I hate
even
that for
us
them.
growing up, like, our vacation was the beach. That's the only
Mhm.
place we ever went.
We're gonna drive for an hour
Yeah.
outside of where we live, and we're
And it
probably
seems
gonna
like
bump into
so
people we
long.
know.
I remember going to the beach, like, I was like, "Oh my god, this drive is so long, like, this fucking sucks."
Yeah, it was
And now,
traffic.
like right? And we've taken the kids to, like, New York, so I definitely, because like, it's in driving distance, it's not super far, but, like,
Right.
it's still, like Bentley and Cole really wanna go to Los Angeles. Like, they wanna see California. That's, like, something
Mhm.
to them that they're like, "Wow, this is
Yeah,
amazing."
well, because all the TikTok houses are in
Yeah.
LA.
Yeah, so they wanna go there. So one of my goals for either this summer or next summer is to, like, get them on an airplane, get them out and about. I want them, but
Mhm.
Bentley, like, when I tell you that Bentley is probably the smartest 11-year-old you'll ever know, like, he's an asshole, okay? Like, he's truly an
Mhm.
asshole, but he is so smart, and he watches like world news, and like watches like he knows a lot about other cultures, and like he's very interested in like how other countries eat and how other countries work and how other countries like survive and how they take care of their kids, and like he's
I
very,
love this.
yeah, so I actually learn a lot from him,
Oh my
honestly,
god,
because if
little
I say,
Anderson
like,
Cooper.
if I'm like, "Oh, well, the kids in Africa are starving." No, I can't use that with him, because he'll be like, "Actually, they in their villages, they make big pots of rice that last the village a week," or whatever. And I'm like, "Oh my god, okay, well, I'm sure they
That's
would
funny.
still love this Dunkin' Donut, Bentley, so don't waste it." My god.
Right.
Like, he is one that really wants to, like, "I wanna see this, I wanna go here, I wanna try this." Like, he'll try any food.
Bring that boy
So
bring him to Auntie,
yeah.
okay? Because
He will
Auntie will
hurt your
show him some
feelings,
weird shit.
but he's a very like, he wants to know.
Yeah.
So we have every culture around here. So they are much, they have their eyes much more open to what's in the world, as
Mhm.
opposed to what I had in Pepperell. Like, they just have a lot of diversity
You
around
had
them.
2
So
Mexican kids and 3 Puerto Rican kids.
that
That's what
was
you
it.
had in Pepperell. And then
That was
the
it.
Asian girl, Nico.
I don't know who that is. So,
She was in my grade, she came in, like, 7th grade. I don't know where
well,
she
where'd she
came
go?
from. I think no, because she was in, like, top 4 like, she was, like, a performer.
Huh.
She dated Tom for a while. I mean, Tom was dating Stephanie by the time we graduated 8th grade. I
Well,
also feel like if there's anyone listening that lived in Pepperell, like, this is the show for you guys because we're dropping
we have the history of the
names.
town.
Literally, we are name dropping so many people in this show. And so if you don't know these people, I feel like who's going to listen? Steve Clements is going to listen to this episode
Oh,
and maybe Leah. I feel like that's it. Maybe
really?
Brandon Lund, maybe.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna share it, so I hope that people will listen.
What's his name? Chris Gideon?
Chris Glidden?
Glidden. You friends with him?
No, he had a baby with my cousin while he was married. So
You told me.
so no. So
Listen,
no,
I keep
don't.
trying to keep the conversation on the kids and being
We
step.
just have
what
too much to catch up
There's
on.
so much tea. Listen, here's the thing. You guys all have a friend like this. When me and Ashley get together, is there a story that's finished? No, because did we interrupt each other to talk about something even more
whole time.
piping hot? Sure
It
did.
goes from here. It's like, it reminds me of like one of those trees that's like, did you do this? Yes, go here. Did this happen? Yes, go here. Like that.
And then
We
circle back.
just have so many things to go back to at some
Literally,
point.
those graphs that it's like me telling a story and it's like side story, backstory, origin story, the story, side
And then it's
story.
like, oh, but on that subject, this also happened, and then we weren't
Literally.
even done
No,
with the other ones.
it
So that's
happens
how.
with my mom. Like, I must not talk to my mom often enough because every time I see my mom, like if I have to go drop something off or pick something up or something, today's her birthday, so happy birthday, Liz.
Oh, happy birthday, Liz.
Happy April Fool's Day. Every time I go and talk to her, we like talk in circles and this and this and this and this and this. And we do the goodbye, like the straight up like auntie goodbye. We say bye. We open the door. We talk. We say bye. I go down the stairs. We go talk. I say bye. I get to the car. We talk. We say bye. And Matt's like, can we
just say bye and have it? Bye is supposed to be the ending word. Bye, period.
No, it's just I'm introducing it. It's like a snooze alarm. I'm snoozing the bye. Hold on, I got something else to tell you. Cool. Thank you guys for listening. If you like us, please tell your friends, because if you like us, they'll probably like us too. Follow us on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Bye.
Bye. Love you.
Love you.